Alright guys, welcome back to this channel. Yes, this is Ghana Premier League. I know what we talk about here already. We talk about Ghana Premier League and everything Ghana football. Match day 17 is done. Yes, so that's right. And you can see that I have the hottest sports journalist in Ghana. Yes, he's the hottest. I learned that Kofa Jessica Pudu, but I do Pudu squared. Yes, I have Mutala with me. Mutala, how are you?
Charlie, good.
Okay, so match day 17.
Yeah.
We are done in the first round.
We're just monitoring the games and we've had some very interesting results. Yeah.
Yes, but then the first round overall, was it what you were expecting?
Well, I would say I expected this.
Maybe but start to be on top.
No, the biggest surprise for me is Heart of Lions leading the table up until this today that they lost. And Baby Gold Stars has usurped them. But I've seen Baby Gold Stars, I've seen the kind of energy they put in during preseason, the kind of players they brought. Remember, they were one of the teams that was heavily criticized, especially during the summer, because of the players they are allowed to leave the club. The likes of Mawuli Wayo were all allowed to leave the club. Yeah, of course, and they received a lot of bashing, but I knew they recruited well, and they have an experienced manager in Frimpong Man. So I am not surprised they're on top of the league because I've spoken to their CEO who tells me that the kind of leverage that the likes of Mediema and the likes of Dreams MC had playing in Africa, he would want to enjoy seeing with his club because he brings them a lot of exposure as well. So they being on top as of now, I am not surprised because especially at the dance park, they've made it a fortress this season. And in the Ghana Premier League, if you are able to win majority of your home games, because playing away is
24 points, they pick 22.
Of course, 2 points. Playing away from home is extremely difficult in the league. So if you're able to win your home games, remember 2009 what Ediana did. They won most of the home games and just drew away, and they won the league. So winning at home is key, and I am not surprised with Gold Stars after 17 games are leading the league law.
But then, especially with what we saw from last season, or the last 2 seasons, where Kotoko always had to struggle with relegation, escaping narrowly, and we see them this time, sixth place with 29 points. Did you expect this, or you feel Ouattara has overwhelmed?
I wouldn't say he has overworked because to whom much is given, much is expected. Yes, they allowed about 16, 18 players to leave the club. He brought in 13 players. And this time he told the world that these are players that he specifically requested for. Last season, I mean, you know the issue of I came to meet the players and these are not my tools and I would bring in my tools and I work. And I think he's justified the reason why he allowed so many of the so-called senior players to leave. And he brought in Division 1, Division 2 players. He's been able to create a blend between the old players and the new players, and they are playing a certain brand of football that he says that this is his identity. It's working for them, even though they had a slow start to the season. They've been able to pick up massive point. Apart from that defeat against Asante Kotoko, they've gone 4 games without a defeat. And even today, the result they had against Samatex is an improved one. They've played Samatex 4 times in the league. They've lost 2 and drawn 2. Those 2 draws all came in Accra. So today to travel to the Insecure Park, yes, you can talk about the fact that Samatex themselves are having a bad season. But to go to the Insecure Park and keep Samatex away from scoring, that is an improvement. For me, I have to focus still within touching distance as far as getting to the top is concerned. Between themselves and Baby Gold Stars, I'm not sure it's more than 6. That's just 4 points between themselves and Kotoko, because regardless of who is at the top, they are playing the mini league with Kotoko. They would always want to stay closer to Kotoko, and I'm not sure it's more than 4 points as well.
So that's just 2 points.
That's just 2 points. So you can look at where Heart of Oak started from, the struggles they went through, and where they've gotten now. I mean, one of the biggest Achilles heel for Heart of Oak this season has been goal scoring. They've not been able to score goals. Hamza, who scored about 13 goals last season, has not been able to replicate that form.
And now he has about 3 or 4 goals.
Of course, but there's been talks about he not having enough services as well. Now they've brought in Set of Say, who is a creative mind, who is a playmaker. So let's see how things go for Kotoko. But currently, where they find themselves, it's a good position for them. And prior to the start of the season, Ouattara made it known that his main focus going into the season is to avoid the struggles they went through last season where they battled relegation. And for me, they've already beaten that.
So we are half through the season,
Yeah.
right? So do you expect the standings to be similar like this at the end of the season? Or if there should be some changes, if there should be some substitutions in terms of places, what do you expect it to be?
Having hosted the Ghana Premier League for about 4 seasons, the second round comes with a lot of dynamics. The second round is where teams pick up pen and paper to draw a plan. Game we may win, I have to win. This game I have to. I know I can't win, so let me count this game out. I mean, teams sit around the drawing board to pinpoint games that they need to win because there's a lot of dynamics there. It's just 17 matches. Before you know, I mean, the league is done and the places do not really change much, especially in the second round because most of the teams pick up what they want to pick up in the first round. But at the end of the season, with the push that some teams are putting in, or with the kind of pace that some teams are winning, like Kumasi and Kotoko, I expect things to change. Heart of Lions, I expect them to bounce back, even though they've lost and they are now not on top of the league. I expect them to bounce back. Heart of Folk, I expect a lot from them going into the second round.
Okay, so there's a point where there seems to be change. There seems to be something different happening. At Kotoko, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
It is a team that was termed as a one-goal scoring team. Now there's a Kotoko side that seems to be scoring twice.
Today they scored 4.
They scored 4 just in the first half.
Yeah.
Some people coming in, he got a brace today. He has had, I think, 5 goals in the last 4 games. So do you think now they've gotten their man? So yes.
It's not even just about Kwame Poku. It's getting scarier for the other teams. There's Kwame Poku. There's Albert Amua, who has been sidelined for 2 months. He will be back. There's Samson Eduku, who has come in.
He was on goal today.
Yes, there's Dada Sauka, who is still there. Isaac Minta, formerly of Adriana, has also come in. So Kotoko have about 4 lethal strikers in their team. And I mean, clearly you can see that Prosper Nate Ogum knows that defending is not their problem. Because they have a solid centre-back partnership, very stable one at the back. But what they lacked was scoring the goals. Now they brought in Kwame Poku, who scored just 6 goals for Kotoko in his first season, even though he played just 6 months. But the rate at which Kwame Poku is scoring now, Kwame Poku,
now he has 5 goals.
Of course, he had 4 games. He scored 1 in the FA Cup. Kwame Poku could end up scoring about 10 goals for Kotoko. And one thing that I have noticed from Kwame Poku's demeanor and what he's done so far is that he has also seen that there's a big opportunity for him to actually penetrate into the national team. As it stands, we don't have an out-and-out number 9 that we can actually rely on. So if he continues this rich vein of form, Otuado would have no option than to call him into the national team, and he could seize an opportunity there because now we don't have an out-and-out number 9. Even with the local Black Stars, he can seize an opportunity and be part of the team there. So the rate at which Kwame Poku is scoring is scary. And one thing that is also helping Asante Kotoko is that they are back to the Barbarian Sports. Remember, they started the season at the Obuasi because they had adopted the Obuasi Link Stadium, and that is where results were not going well for them. Their fans got pissed. I mean,
they lost against Nations, against Heart of Lions, and these are title contenders.
Of course, and there were reports that some of the fans even want Ogum out of the door. But once they reverted to the Barbarian Sports Stadium. Their first game was against Heart of Lions, and prior to that game, I told Oreko Ampofo that if Kotoko should win that game, it's not only 3 points for them, it's a confidence booster because their fans will now know that okay, our boys are back to the Barbarian Sports Stadium and they are coming with a lot of momentum because to beat your bitterest rivals in your first game at home is a big confidence booster. Now look at the numbers that they record at the Barbarian Sports Stadium, and I tell people there's no tonic to bring fans to the stadium in football other than winning. So Kotoko are coming with a strong force and they are serious and genuine title contenders against it.
Okay, one team that's also struggling here is Aduana. Okay, Aduana seems to be a relegation fighting team. Now they are placed 12. They are 4 points off relegation. Do you think for the recent seasons, Aduana mostly don't do well in the second round. I don't know if you realize.
Yeah.
Yes, but now it's the first round that they are not doing well.
They don't do well in the second round, and they also struggle against one particular team, Accra Lions.
Yes.
They struggle badly against Accra Lions. But what is affecting Indiana has existed for about 3 seasons now. The very moment they lost their home invincibility, because the Nana Ajimabedu Park used to be a fortress. It used to be one of the most deadliest grounds in the Ghana Premier League. Teams don't go there and pick results.
Yeah, that's right.
Their woe started 3 seasons ago when King Faisal went there to beat them by 3 goals to 1.
Okay.
Then Asante Kotoko followed up with a 2-0 victory. If you remember, is this son? I've forgotten his name. The 2 Cameroonians. It was George Infege and one other person. I think Justice Blay also who scored for them. That was when Indiana lost their home invincibility. Then they started struggling.
Because there was a time Tamale City was even picking a point.
Yes, until they got a last-minute penalty or something to equalize. So Indiana have struggled badly at home in the Ghana Premier League for 3 seasons now. And I told you that in the league, if you are failing to pick up points at home, because winning away from home is one of the most difficult things in the Ghana Premier League. That is the nature of the league. But Indiana have lost that invincibility. They've lost some very experienced players. They didn't replace them well, and it's all affecting them. Okay. I mean, remember the Indiana squad, the Yaya Mohammed, the Sam Adams, the Bright Ages, very Anochibedu, their goalkeeper Adams. I mean, very, very experienced squad. But they've not replaced these players well, and that is costing Indiana. I know they will try and move away from 12th position because that is not befitting of Indiana. But I mean, when you get into the second round, that is where teams also do their homework well, because everybody now we've all now played ourselves in the first round, so they know the strategies to employ for the second round. And I wish them well, but it doesn't look good for the Doma-based club.
So if you're talking about teams doing their homework very well, there are 3 teams, I think 4 or 3 teams that we really need to look at in terms of doing their homework very well. Dreams FC, Karela, Legon Cities, and Accra Lions. Accra Lions shockingly placed second last season. This season, they are bottom placed with just 13 points after 17 games. Today, they were battered by being Good Stars at Sogakope. These 3 teams, how do they need to do? Or you think as at now, Ajibu?
For Accra Lions, I've lost faith. I think they are going down. It will be difficult because 13 points
from 17, like 51 points.
Yeah, from 51 points. I mean, I think they are going down. One thing I feel has affected them this season badly has been the fact that they started slowly and they thought that things would pick up at a point, but it hasn't picked up. And last season they finished second. What they did brilliantly was winning a lot of games at the Accra Sports Stadium. They managed to put a lot of teams to the sword. There's something that has changed about their pattern of play. They had some very good players last season, but you know the Accra Lions system. We bring in about 11 players, about 6 of them will leave before the season ends. So you bring in new crop of players from their feeder club. And it is good. I mean, the likes of Ayas have gone through that system fine, but it doesn't always work. There comes a time where you struggle because those coming will need to adjust and adapt to the system or the style of play. And it doesn't always work. For me, even losing Ibrahim Tanko, who I feel understand the situation of the Ghana Premier League and understand the boys well, communicate with them well, would also affect them. They brought back Rene Kraft, the manager who qualified them into the Premier League, but I think it's too little too late for them. For Legon Cities, they still have a tactical and experienced man at the helm of affairs. Yes. It could work for them. They have picked up some important ways like Kotoko, but they've not been able to be consistent. And if you're not consistent, that is going to affect you. Today they won against Dreams FC. It's a huge win. They need to keep up the consistency to move away. I mean, moving out of the relegation zone in the Ghana Premier League is not a difficult thing. You need about 2 wins.
You just win 2 or 3.
2 or 3 games and you're out of the relegation zone. Same with getting to the top of the league. You just win 2 or 3 games and you'll be within touching distance. You'll be 4th, 10th. So they need to keep up the consistency. They need to make teams suffer at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. Sometimes I feel they make it too easier for teams to play through them there. But for them, when they are a champion, I still think that they have a glimmer of hope of surviving.
Okay. One of that narrowly escaped relegation that is North Carolina, and they come this season. They are the only team in the league to have got less than 10 goals. Now they are 16th place with 14 points. Do you think it is time?
I think during the week I heard that Fatah Mohammed, the former Heart of Oak captain who was with them, has rejoined them. I've heard that Ajamai, formerly of Asante Kotoko, who joined them at a point, the defender has rejoined them.
Maxwell Ajamai.
Yeah, Maxwell Ajamai. And then one other player has also rejoined them. But as I said, it's difficult when you don't pick up maximum points in the first round. You start slowly thinking that things will pick up, and it doesn't pick up. And Karela has gone through a lot of difficulties in terms of finance, managerial changes, and all these things accumulate to affect the team. Okay. That they are the only team that's a lot more travel than any other team in the Ghana Premier League because they are situated in the north, so they move around more. Because most of the teams are in the southern belt.
Especially there was a time they were playing in Yakubu.
Yeah,
and which is even huge stuff from Tamale. So
now they are back to the Tamale Stadium, but they do a lot of travels, and it affects them. I mean, in terms of their physique, in terms of their fitness and all of that. I mean, at a point, their former coach Abubakar Damba complained about that the travels get to affect them. They get to some league centers, and because of financial difficulty, they have to get to the league centers the day of the match. On the match day, they can't go and lodge at a hotel because it comes with a lot of costs, and they need to cut costs. And they get there, they are exhausted. And it affects their fitness. It affects them when they go into the match because most of the teams in the Ghana Premier League are situated within the southern belt, and you have to move around and play all these teams. For me, Karela Accra Lions, it would be extremely difficult for them to remain in the league next season.
Briefly, what about Dreams FC?
With the kind of win they had against Accra Lions the last time.
But they lost today.
Yeah, they lost again. But I don't know. I still have an iota of belief that Dreams FC will survive in the league. I don't know, for some funny reason, I still have that belief that Dreams FC would survive in the league. I don't think they would be relegated, even with all the difficulties they are going through. I think in the second round things might change, especially if they have to move from that Tuba. I'm not sure Tuba has served them well. No. It hasn't been good for them at all. I'm hearing that they may relocate to a different venue. So let's see what happens. But I believe strongly that Dreams FC will not be relegated.
So if things are changing, second round, what do you expect?
A lot more fights from Heart of Lions, because now Heart of Lions can some way somehow say they've already survived relegation. So let's see. Let's just throw the kitchen sink at the rest of the teams and see if we can fight for the title. Nothing changes, but in the second round, I expect Asante Kotoko to bring more heat. And by the end of with how they've started, I expect it to be a two-horse race between themselves and Heart of Oak, with Baby Gold Stars and Heart of Lions.
So you are saying the title race is going to be between Kotoko and
Heart of Oak, with Baby Gold Stars and Heart of Lions in the mix.
What about Nations FC?
I don't think they have the capacity, especially with their away matches. Okay. They usually drop points, even though they've won today, which is a good result for them. At the Dr. Kwame Chase Sports Complex, they are brilliant, but usually when they move away from home, they struggle. And if you want to really challenge for the title, try and get the results away from home. Not just 3 points. I mean, try and get at least a point from some games, and it puts you at a very good position.
Okay, so that was it from Mutala. The review of match day 17 and then the first round. Second round, we were expecting more, just as Mutala said. Thank you so much for joining us on this one. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you some other time.